Welcome back. We are here at Cosmic Reunion 4th Density. This is Irvine, California at the most amazing Temple of Light. And as if this location weren't light enough, all of you are here and it is as bright as I can imagine anything ever being. And this is what we all carry. And it's really a lovely segue. While I'm doing this segue into presenting our next speaker, I have to just express gratitude for what we've been listening to in this time that we've taken between the speakers. This is called Light Bodies, and it's by Jonathan Wilk. Jonathan is amazing all on his own. As the individual that he is, but what makes him also one more facet of being extra special in this moment, as I'm ready to introduce our next speaker, is that he is the partner of our next speaker. And so, Jonathan, thank you so much for the lovely music. It is really, I'm just floating up here. Our next speaker, Laura and I had the opportunity to interview recently on our radio program. Her name is Nora Herold. And I just have to tell you that we had so much fun. I had heard of Nora Herold, but I had not heard anything from her. I had just heard some good little rumblings over here and over there. And so I wasn't so sure what we were going to get into, so what I can tell you is that this is a person who you just feel the joy in her being. And that's really the best way that I can describe her. Is that in our interview with her and in our subsequent conversations and even here, you just feel this immense joy. And so it makes you kind of want to look into her a little bit and figure out where this really comes from. And so the path that I feel has led Nora to this joy comes from over 20 years of channeling and lecturing and doing healing work. And so there's a certain happiness and peace to her. And you just know that this is, like with all of us, what we carry comes from how we assimilate our experiences and the meaning we choose to give them. She channels the Pleiadians, Yeshua, fairies, and other highly vibrational beings. She's also a Reiki master, so she knows all about energy, and she walks into a room and you just feel it. So I am thrilled and really happy to introduce to you Nora Herold.
Slight technical adjustment here. As much as I love Jonathan's music, which I do, it's just going to be me for now. Well, me and whomever else shows up. So hi. Bring it. I'm incredibly happy to be here today with all of you. I want to thank Ilya and Neil and Sol and Dr. Dream for the lovely introduction, and everyone else who came together to bring this event forth, all the wonderful speakers and presenters. And I'm really honored to be a part of it and to be here with all of you. Anybody can let me know at any time if there are sound issues here. I don't normally work with a microphone. I've got a pretty loud projecting voice, and I know that when I turn this way, I'm off the mic, and I will turn this way because I want to address everyone. So I'm going to channel for you today. So I'm going to explain my interpretation of channeling, how it is I perceive what I do, because I know that every single one of us has a different perspective and a different understanding of everything in our reality, and that's the beauty of this reality. There is not one single truth. So I'll put this out to you all as well. The Pleiadians always say it. Take what resonates for you today and leave the rest behind. Use your discernment. Feel into your bodies as you take in the information and the transmission that comes forth, and really listen to your own truth in the moment. It may be that something they say sparks a completely different truth or piece of information for you. It may be the opposite of what it is that they're saying. But if that truth is sparked for you in the moment, then it's your truth. And also be willing to let go of your truths. Because truth is only real in the moment. And this is something I've really found on my journey here of 20 plus years in this world and 46 plus years in this body, is my truths change all the time. And anytime I say to myself, okay, that's it, that's the story, I have it, I got it, no. The next day, the next week, the next month, a new piece of information comes in, I have a new experience, and that moves me forward along my journey, and that's what this is. It is a journey for all of us. So I have been direct voice channeling for approximately 17 years. I had my first contact with my spirit guide, Mirando, who I don't normally channel publicly, although I'm hearing from him right now that he might make an appearance today, which would be lovely. So we'll see if that happens. I was hanging out with a friend one night, and I was depressed. I was 29. I was going through my first Saturn return. Some of you may know what that is. It's an astrological aspect that occurs once every 28 years or so for each of us. So your first one is at the age of 28, 29. Your second Saturn return will happen at 55, 56, and on every 28 years. And when Saturn returns, many of us experience it like our lives are being flipped upside down. We're being flipped upside down along with that. And all of my beliefs had crumbled around me on the floor, including a relationship. I had terrible money issues and family issues. You know, you name it. I incarnated into a system this time through that gave me a lot of really good stuff to work on for very quickly at a very young age. So I was hanging out with this friend, and she mentioned this woman, Wendy Kennedy, who channels. She had just met Wendy. And some of you may be familiar with Wendy Kennedy. She's a good friend of mine, and we work together today still. So I said, well, what's that, talking to dead people? And she said, well, you know, you could do that, but Wendy talks to her spirit guides. You know, and when she said that, talks to her spirit guide, that lit me up in a way that I had not been lit up before. I had been looking for something, I'd been searching, and I said, well, I want to do that. I want to talk to my spirit guide, so let's do it. And I've been reading tarot cards for years, and I'd always felt very sensitive and intuitive, and there was nobody there in the room, like Cynthia was saying. There was nobody there in the room to say to me, you can't do this. There was nobody there to say, you need special training, you need to take a class, or only special people can do this. So I sat there and meditated for a couple of minutes, and I suddenly felt the presence of a being whose energy was incredibly bright and presented this yellow light. I knew his name, and he felt like a male to me. I know now that beings are not really male or female, but we project those genders on them to help us better understand our relationships with them. I knew his name started with an M, and what I felt in that moment was a transmission of unconditional love, unlike anything Nora had ever experienced in this body before. So I had been in relationships, I had experienced love. I had never been so fully and completely loved and accepted in the moment like that. And it was extremely transformative for me. Within a very short amount of time, I began accessing past life memories. Spontaneously, I began having ET experiences, both waking and dreaming. Began to remember some other ET experiences. But more importantly than that, I began channeling nonstop, all the time. While I was waitressing, while I was hanging out at home, there was a constant stream of information and connection happening, and I met many, many beings, along with my friends Wendy Kennedy and Amy Spohr. We met many beings at the time, and some of those beings I still work with today, and it was during that period of time that the Pleiadians first made themselves known to us. Okay, I think that's enough about my story for now, because that's enough. And I want to get to the channeling for all of you, and I want to get to working with you energetically. Perfect. And we're going to have some fun. You know, this has got to be fun for me. So I will direct voice channel for a while for you now. I don't know how long. And then we will do Q&A with all of you. There are a couple of microphones set up right here to my right. So when it's time for Q&A, we'll ask you to just come up to the microphone. We might ask you to just take seats over here if you have questions at that time. And you can ask about anything you want. Please make sure your cell phones are off. And please just watch the noise level in the room as I am channeling. It helps to have a quieter space while I'm allowing the transmission through. Yeah, that's right. Why not tone along? Greetings. This is the Pleiadian Collective, and it is wonderful to have this opportunity to link up with all of you beautiful universal beings of light in this fashion. Look at you. You are glorious, shining beings of light. And that's where we want to start with you today, your true identity as an incredibly high vibrational being of light. Look at your body right now. Look at your hands. Feel your body. Feel the weight and the beauty of your physical structure. Take a breath. Inhale right into your heart center and feel the truth of your identity as a universal being of light. With every inhalation of breath right now, we want you to light up from the inside out. So as you inhale, your heart expands, and as you exhale, feel the light of your being filling your physical body. As you inhale and exhale, and as you have this experience of recognizing your light, we're doing some work in the space right now. There's been a lot that's going on here over the last, well, we would say over the last couple of days, but truthfully, there's a lot that's going on in this particular spot over the last few thousand years. You're sitting on a very active vortex and portal right now. It's one of the reasons why this space was created here. It's one of the reasons why those who facilitate the work being done here are drawn to this space. So we're working with this space right now to bring us all into the same vibration, the same alignment. All right, so take a breath again, right into your heart center, and exhale. And know that this is how we will work with you for the day. So we will give you a verbal transmission of information, but more importantly, we will give you an energetic transmission of information that's deposited right into your energetic bodies. So it's very important that you really take care of yourselves over the next few days. Drink lots of water, get lots of rest, get into the sunlight as much as you can, and express your creative energy as much as you can as well. So we want to talk with you a bit about our perspective about what's happening here on planet Earth at this time, both with Earth itself and then collective humanity. You are in the process of a gigantic shift in consciousness. You're all aware of this, yes? let's have everybody shake your bodies out of bed. We'll have you do this throughout the program because we want you to remember that you're in a body while you hear this information. A lot of you have the tendency still, when you've taken this kind of information, to go up and out. And as you go up and out, you leave the physical form, and it is the vehicle. You are in the process of shifting. So to experience this shift, you've got to be fully grounded and centered within these physical bodies so they can more reflect the beings of light that you all are. So you're shifting from our perspective, and as Nora said earlier, there are many versions of the truth, so you've heard a number of different stories, all of you, throughout the course of this weekend, throughout the course of your lifetime. This is our version of what's happening right now. From our perspective, you are shifting from a third-dimensional density to a fifth-dimensional density, all right? Well, why from 3 to 5? What happened to the fourth dimension? Why are we skipping the fourth dimension? We hear you asking that quite often. Well, you're not skipping it. You're using it. You're using it as the vehicle for your shift, and it is currently the dimension that you're spending the most time in, the fourth dimension. It was such a big task to take yourselves from a third-dimensional density where you believed time was linear, meaning time works on a line, where you believed matter was solid, where you believed all of these other limiting kind of thoughts. Such a job for you all to go from 3D to 5D, where you suddenly let go of linear time, let go of physical density, let go of all of the limitations you imposed upon yourselves, that you're using the fourth dimension to ease yourself through the journey. Take a breath, everybody. Yep, we'll remind you to breathe. We'll let you know as well when you're taking in information in this way, it's best for you to uncross your legs. We're going to ask that there be silence in the room. Thank you, everyone. When you're taking in information in this way, it's best for you to sit in an open and relaxed position. Thank you, everyone. So, what does it mean to shift from the third to the fifth dimension? How long will that take, and why didn't it happen on December 21st? That's a question that we hear some of you asking. We'll tell you that on December 21st, you did shift. You did. On December 21st of 2012, you left the third dimensional reality. You are moving through the fourth dimension, and you have access now to the fifth dimensional experience anytime you want. The reason you haven't gotten there yet fully consciously is because your minds are still getting in the way. What does that mean, my mind's getting in the way? I'm supposed to use my mind to make my way through this world. Well, yes, in the third dimension, that's right. You used your minds. The third dimension was set up to be a very mind-centered kind of experience. And you created this third-dimensional mind full of all of these filters that would throw out any extraneous piece of data that would tell you you were anywhere but the third dimension. That's why a lot of you, when you've had metaphysical or paranormal experiences, you either have just had a glimpse of them, oop, what's that, out of the corner of my eye, or you've forgotten them. Let's talk about having your memories erased. Because you often perceive, all of you, that it's those beings outside of you that have been erasing your memories. Well, sure, that can happen. Like anything can happen in this reality. But of course, if you have a being outside of you erasing your memory from our perspective, because we understand all in the universe to be a creator, on some level you've given them permission to do so. But more often than not, you have forgotten your memories because your third dimensional mind was set up to cause you to forget. Let's look at it from this perspective. If all of you sitting in the room had had full conscious access to your experiences while you were children, meaning your experiences with angelic beings, spirit guides, extraterrestrials, fairies, on and on. You had full access to all of that. that information and all of your memories of what was going on would have taken you off into another reality right away. You would have left. Why play in the third dimensional realm when you have access to something else? And that's not where it was you wanted to be. You wanted to seat your energy in the third dimension and shift yourselves from the inside out in tangent with Earth. This is the big news in this story. Never before in the universe have a collective humanity or a collective species and a planet shifted its consciousness in tandem. Take a breath and feel and remember the excitement you felt when you first volunteered for this experience. And that excitement doesn't sit right before this lifetime, all right? This is a game you have been playing for eons. And you have rounded a huge corner. Because on December 21st of last year, the self-imposed limitations of the third dimensional mind expired. Take a breath. We've seen for a lot of you that you've had these issues you've come up against in this life again and again and again. Same issue. Here it is, again. Why can't I get rid of it? Why can't I lose it? Why can't I let it go? Because the issue was serving you. On December 21st of last year, those limitations, they expired. They're no longer serving you. They're not part of your program any longer. We get confirmation over there from the little being on the other part of the room. Thank you. Now the fairies are joining us as well, so we're going to hear from them shortly. So those limitations expired. So you're saying to yourselves, well, if my limitations expired, why does the world still feel the same way to me? Well, that's because you're still defaulting back to those limitations. You don't really know that they've expired. So like when you have a carton of milk in the refrigerator that's expired, we see all of you do this. You take it out, you sniff it, you put it right back into the refrigerator. You think, yeah, I'll throw that out later. So right now, we want you to just take a breath and give yourself permission to start letting go of the limitations that have expired in your third dimensional minds. Because this is going to open you up to the fifth dimensional experience, which is a heart-mind-centered experience. Not third dimensional mind, fifth dimensional mind. So a big part of your journey since the harmonic convergence in 1987 has been to drop into your heart centers and begin using your hearts as the computers. A lot of you were involved in this process on this timeline without consciously having any awareness that this is what you were actually doing. It does not matter when you woke up. In 1987, the light switch flipped for all of you during the harmonic convergence, and you were given that memory, that awareness that it was time to move into your heart centers. Became a very emotional journey for all of you. And we still see that many of you are having a very emotional journey. We want to say to you about your emotions, respect them. Respect every single emotion you feel. Stop calling them light and dark. Stop calling them good and bad. One of the gifts of the third dimensional experience is the emotional roller coaster ride of the third dimensional experience. It is one of the reasons why you were all so excited to come here in the first place. We like to liken it to going to an amusement park. So you can remember going on the roller coaster for the first time as a child, and I'm sure there are many of you listening who were afraid to do that. Raise your hand if you were afraid before going on a roller coaster for the first time, right? All right, so you were afraid, and then you got on it, you took the trip, and it was so much fun. You got off and got right back on again and again and again, and that has been your incarnational cycle here in the third dimension. It is an amusement park of emotion and experience, and it has been a hell of a lot of fun for all of you. It really has. No matter what your perspective is in the moment, your fifth dimensional identity, your higher self, is learning, growing, evolving. You are constantly transmitting information to those of us that exist in the higher realms, as was stated earlier in the day. We all learn from you as we give information to you. This is a two-way street. You know, let's talk to you about our identity for a moment. We are a 12th dimensional collective. From our perspective, this is a universe of 13 dimensions. That's just the story we give. And again, there are other stories out there. Our story is not right or wrong. It is just our version of the story. It's our game that we like to play. The 13th dimension is where source energy completely exists. When you go to the 13th dimension, you know yourself as complete with source. There's not a sense of separation, individuality, or identity. You are completely immersed with source energy in that dimension, and that is your point of origin in this universe. That is where you all began. You are not working your way up. You began as incredibly high vibrational beings of light. You still are those incredibly high vibrational beings of light. You just have dropped your frequency to have different experiences on different dimensions. So we are a 12th dimensional collective of beings. We like to call ourselves Pleiadians because the 9th dimensional Pleiadian collective, with which many of you are familiar with, they are a piece of our energy. We are an oversoul being that sits on the 12th dimension that has sent off aspects of our energy to many other dimensions, one of those aspects being the 9th dimensional Pleiadian collective. Readings, this is the 9th dimensional Pleiadian collective. So for some of you who have listened to Nora in the past, you're going to hear the familiarity in our vibration and in our resonance. We transmit using tone and vibration. You can see Nora is backing away from the microphone because our tone, our frequency operates differently in the room. Just feel right now the difference in your bodies as we work with you energetically, and the difference as we, the 12th dimensional Pleiadian collective, work with you. Now, one is not better or higher than the other. We simply work with you in different ways. Take a breath. This is Calliandra. Greetings. I'm Calliandra. I am fairy. I'm 5th dimensional fairy. Again, we're having Nora back up from the microphone because I get very boisterous when I come through Nora. So, we want to talk to you about the fairies for a bit of time here because there's a lot of confusion on your planet about who the fairies actually are, all right? When we say the word fairy, immediately many of you think of Tinkerbell, right? You think of tiny, winged being who's mischievous and who maybe has some magical powers, but you're not really sure the benefit of the fairy. So we want to clear that up with you. We are gigantic beings of light. As you are gigantic beings of light. Sometimes, so as not to scare you, we present as tiny winged beings. Sometimes we are depicted that way by others who wish to diminish our light, diminish our power. We have had a long history with all of you here on the planet. We have been in the 5th dimension for quite some time.